It was about 4 years after that summer. A lot had happened in those 4 years. Through a mutual friend, I learned that Nora and Delia Ephron were writing a play for Broadway, and they were researching this play called Love, Loss, and What I Wore, and it was to be 10 vignettes, real stories of personal misfortune and tragedy. One story was about a divorce, another a miscarriage, loss of a child, and each of these 10 stories were going to be part of this play. So they asked if I would sit down and recount my story. And I knew them because we had mutual friends, so I trusted them as much as I trust anybody, and I agreed to meet with Delia. So we met at a small coffee shop on St. Mark's Place, and I remember going into the coffee shop early because I was very nervous and ordering coffee, which of course made me very anxious. And I had never talked about any of this part of my life, my friendship with Carolyn, my relationship with Anthony, and anything that happened that summer. So I thought it would be a short conversation, and we ended up talking for about 3 hours. And I told her things that I had never told anybody. I walked away from that meeting, and I felt really good for the first time in a long time, for days. I didn't really associate it right away with the telling of the story, but it soon became clear that it was, that if I ever was going to move forward, that I had to get this story out of my head. So I sort of tucked that information away for like 6 or 8 months, remembering how well I felt that day after I told Delia about that summer and what they all meant to me. About 8 months later, my sister-in-law and I went to a small island off the coast of Canada, Sea Salt Island. It was there that I recorded about 20 hours of audio tape that formed the framework for the memoir. And she asked me questions, and I just talked. Like 12, 15 hours a day, we just sat there in the room at this small hotel, and I told her my story. I was really happy. I was really glad because I was so worried that I was going to lose those memories, and I couldn't face losing them again. So it felt good after I did the 20 hours to have it all down on tape. And then my sister-in-law, Mom, very sweet, offered to transcribe the tapes, and she transcribed them, and it was about 180 pages. That became the framework for the memoir. And I moved to Oregon for about a year. I started writing the story. That's sort of how it came about. I never thought I'd publish it, actually. I just thought I wanted to get it down because it was such a big part of my life, and it was overwhelming, actually. There is some truth to that. Writing is cathartic, and I think it was the first time around getting it all down on paper. That was cathartic, but really writing a book is just really good old-fashioned plain hard work. I mean, it's really hard to write a book and do it well. So, and I had started this 4 years after that summer, so I think I had processed a lot and integrated a lot of what had happened. The great thing for me, though, in writing this, I was for the first time really able to integrate my unconventional childhood with this other life that I had, because I was very compartmentalized between my childhood and my family and my job at ABC and then my marriage into this, iconic American family. And it was the first time I looked at it all as whole one life. I think I was very lucky to be able to have done this. It was very easy for me to write about them because I was just writing about my husband and his cousin, my cousin, and my best friend. I don't see them maybe like other people do. I mean, we all live very complicated lives, and certainly they lived a very complicated life. But I think a big part of what I was trying to do in this book is to bring some humanity to that and to show that these people were just like everyone else, and they struggled, and they were compassionate and wonderful friends and husbands and wives and cousins, and they made good decisions, they made bad decisions. They weren't always perfect. I wasn't always perfect, but we were real. And it just came out that way because that's who they were to me. I was very clear that I wasn't writing about myth. I was just writing about, humanity in all its imperfection. If people learn a little something about John that they didn't know, that's really nice. Or if they come to think of Carolyn in a way that they hadn't before, I think that's really, really lovely. It wasn't my intention, to write this book to set the record straight or to tell people what they were really like. It was just to tell a story. And that's who they were to me.